should say thank you first for that suspiciously brief introduction. I should thank you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades, friends, for coming. I think it was time that you had a guest who has no humor, no tricks, and who, though he knows is blocking the way between you and cocktail hour, is fully aware of it, has no intention of being brief. But who, for all that, is very glad to be back in Las Vegas. I can't be the only one of you to have noticed that I went to the Bellagio this morning for a fast one. Fast what, you asked? Ha! That these palazzos, these pyramids and ziggurats and skyscrapers are not built, are they, by the winners. By what I would describe as a simple process of elimination. We have a rough idea who did build, whose hard-earned money did build these ziggurats and temples and skyscrapers. And actually, I suppose this will, in this like everything else, is getting nearer to being over. Someone might let me know. No, they're not going to do that. We old troopers don't repine. We play the provincial halls at all hazard. That might be it. I think it would be as true to say that every cathedral, every temple, I'll punctuate, I'll use this for punctuation. Every temple, every cathedral, every mosque, every synagogue is built in roughly the same way. They're all built, like the ziggurats of Las Vegas, on the priesthood who were smart enough to understand which side of this wager to be on, and who could not believe, and who still cannot believe, how many gullible saps there are in the world. So I think we're well met in that sense, and well met in the right place. Let it be the fools who make the wagers, and the cynics who take the profit and the difference. It's why I've always found so disgusting the concept of the wager as proposed by Blaise Pascal, often thought of as a serious thinker by serious people, who simply said, since the benefits of belief are so great, and the disadvantages of disbelief so obvious, why not simply place your bet on the chance that God exists? Because then if he does, what, so to speak, can you lose? There, it seems to me, is the root not just of amorality, but immorality. Here is why religion is not just false, but actually an inculcation of the wicked, of the immoral way to think, of the selfish as well as the irrational way to think. Is there no one who could say for their God that this supposed deity or creator would prefer someone who, at the close of day, unlike Bertrand Russell, who simply announced that he would come to the pearly gates and say, I can sometimes do his voice, "Oh Lord, you did not give us enough evidence," who would, perhaps a little improving on that from the ethical point of view, who would say, don't you prefer someone who could not bring himself to believe in the propaganda of your priests, but who tried to lead an ethical life in any case? Would that perhaps not be a more winning bet? If it is a more winning bet, a more ethical bet, we can at least be certain that monotheism forbids it. So I frankly prefer the Randy wager every time. Any miracle you can do, we can do better. And you lose, and we keep the money. That's talking, it seems to me. And that's why I feel so honored to be here. I have had a sense all week, a sense that I don't usually inculcate in myself at all, the sense that I am not worthy. Around any corner in this hotel, I might meet Michael Shermer. Again, fortunately for me this time, I have met him before. I might meet Professor Dawkins. I might meet James Randi, I might meet Penn, I might meet Teller. I feel overawed, seriously, deeply overawed by all that, but I'm comforted by an even more refulgent faith than that of hero worship that I don't really profess. Because the great thing about our sodality, our company, ladies and gentlemen, is simply this: we don't need heroes. We don't need a priesthood. We don't need a papacy. We don't need positive reinforcement. We don't need incantations. We don't need weekly ceremonies to drive it all home. We don't need nightmares and dreads and guilt in order to confirm us in what we think. We certainly don't need excommunication or anathema. We belong to a natural community, a community that arises in the ordinary course of events of people who are skeptical, who can come to the same conclusions independently of one another and calmly compare and contrast these conclusions when we're lucky enough to meet. I suppose that not Randi supporters, but Ayn Rand supporters do occasionally have schisms and excommunications, and there's nothing like a good schism among objectivists to teach you how there are pitfalls even in non-religious cultism, but we prepare ourselves, I think, fairly calmly for those too. We don't even need to stress something that will keep us a secret between these walls. We don't even need to stress our moral superiority. That's something we can just keep to ourselves, all right? We hardly ever need to stress our moral superiority. But that's what's meant by our superiority over the sordid calculations of somebody, an overrated sophist like Blaise Pascal. Now, skeptics and unbelievers are unfortunately also doomed to be accused of being joylessness, of being joyless, of promoting joylessness, even a certain frigidity. I don't think anyone who'd been to this meeting would think of the skeptical or agnostic or atheist or rationalist community as a joyless one. To the contrary, I think it's probably a great deal more fun to be here than at, say, Jerry Falwell's Liberty Baptist College hoedown. But it's an accusation we might spend a minute or two discussing amongst ourselves. After all, is it not true that in Las Vegas, even the losers, freely taken as they are by the clever priesthood who built the temples and the ziggurats here, even those losers do have sort of a good time? My youngest daughter, in fact, was conceived in Caesar's Palace about 12 years ago now, on a losing streak, which I wouldn't have been without. And isn't there consolation to be had, after all, in this veil of tears and misery, in the supernatural? Why should one want to deny people these simple and these humble pleasures? And who, in any case, are we to deny them this kind of happiness? And so I suppose if I had a title for my sermon today, and I've only just cleared my throat, I want to warn you, it would be, does credulity matter? Is credulity a problem? This is often stated, actually most often stated, by a famous misquotation from Karl Marx, who is supposed to have said that religion was merely the opium of the people. Anyone who studied it at all will know that in his introduction to the critique of Hegel's philosophy of right, Karl Marx says no such thing. He says that religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature and the heart of the heartless world and the spirit of a spiritless situation. And he adds only then the punning remark that it's the opiate of the masses, and goes on to say that criticism of it, of religion, has plucked the flowers from the chains, not so that men and women shall wear